UAE is one of the driest countries on Earth. It has an average rainfall of approximately 100 millimeters per year. To put this in perspective, that's just a tenth of the global average. As a result, it has to get creative in the way it procures water. This is Beyond the Headlines. I'm your host, Willy Lowry, and this week we're looking at how the UAE harnesses the rain with cloud seeding. The World Health Organization estimates a person needs roughly 20 liters of water a day. That's enough to cook, bathe, clean, and drink. With the UAE's arid desert climate and a population of almost 10 million people, it's impossible to reach that number without intervention. Dr Deon Terblanche is a consultant in weather and climate at the World Bank.
There are two main sources of fresh water in the UAE at this stage. There are actually three. One is groundwater, one is desalination, and the other one is looking at the skies, because rainfall is the source of fresh water.
That is something the founding father of the UAE, Sheikh Zayed, understood well, as he oversaw the creation and expansion of the Emirates. In February 1982, an American aircraft took to the skies over Abu Dhabi to take part in the UAE's very first cloud seeding mission.
In the olden days, when Sheikh Zayed, our past father, he had a vision, and he saw cloud seeding as a strategic project, and he has to. So he ordered the Air Force at that time to start doing the operation. So at that time, they started immediately in the cloud seeding operations. It was rented aircraft, rented project, so the whole project was third party.
That was Omar Al Yazeedi, Director of Research, Development, and Training at the National Center for Meteorology. Further experiments were held in the 1990s, and by the turn of the century, the UAE was working with some of the world's biggest institutions that were at the forefront of cloud seeding technology.
So we started evaluating, is it beneficial for us or not? Does it really work or not? So you don't want to invest in technology and you are not sure if it has a positive effect. At the same time, we wanted to see that UAE is suitable for cloud seeding. If you have one cloud once a year, then it's not, worth it to do all these. So we did a physical study, we did air chemistry study to understand the type of aerosols that we have, and also what type of particles that we need to use in order to make sure that we have a successful operation on cloud seeding. So after all these studies, and also we found out that we have enough clouds all over the year. And even our cooperation with NASA and with the NCAR, the National Atmospheric Research Center in Colorado in USA, so it was a no-brainer to go with the cloud seeding, and even the government, when they realized this, they supported the cloud seeding operation.
So what is cloud seeding? Although the idea of being able to cause rain by shooting chemicals into the clouds dates back to the end of the 19th century, it was Vincent Schaefer, an American meteorologist and research chemist, who stumbled into discovering the science of cloud seeding while working for General Electric Laboratories in 1946. Schaefer, along with a man named Bernard Vonnegut, were studying what causes icing to occur on airplanes. By chance, they stumbled on creating snowstorms. Fast forward over 70 years, and that mishap is helping the UAE to fight for its water security.
So basically what we do is we send our aircraft with flares. These seeding flares consist some materials, basically a mixture of sodium chloride, potassium chloride, similar to the salt used in food. And these salts basically attracts the moisture and try to make it condense. So these particles becomes nuclei of condensation. And then when these droplets condense, and then they hit each other, and then they form a bigger droplet that the air cannot hold it any longer in the air, so it forms as rain.
Despite this, there is still much debate as to whether cloud seeding actually works, as there is no way to tell the rain that falls was a direct result of the cloud seeding mission. So, has rainfall increased in the UAE?
Well, in a short answer, yes, but we need to be 100% sure, so we need a lot of data. The amount of data that we have now, it's not enough to to evaluate. It's increasing continuously.
Although it's difficult to predict exactly how much of an effect cloud seeding has, meteorologists across the world more and more agree that it does work. New technologies are being used to help understand the potential of cloud seeding. Dr. Deon Terblanche explains.
So I think the new technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, combined with better computers, better instruments, and innovative approaches like we see coming out of this program will really lead the way to the future. I think we will be in a stage in a few decades that we have much better control over the weather. We have to, because it's one of the biggest threats that we face at this stage.
As technology helps us get better results, governments around the world are investing to secure their water futures. The UN predicts that almost half of the world's population may face water stress by the year 2030. In 2015, the government launched the UAE Research Program for Rain Enhancement Science Initiative, with a potential $5 million grant for scientists who are working in the field of rain enhancement. Although the UAE invests and spends millions of dirhams in cloud seeding, the world's biggest investor is China. In 2018, China committed to building a network of cloud seeding chambers in the mountains of Tibet to increase the rainfall in the region. The proposed tens of thousands of chambers hope to increase the rainfall over an area of 1.6 million square kilometers. The increase in rainfall is hoped to be as much as 10 billion cubic meters of rainfall a year, equal to 7% of China's water consumption. Beijing's nationwide weather modification budget exceeds $50 million a year. Although the investment is to provide water security in China, it's not an exact science. The results can be varied, as we can never know if the seeding directly caused the rain or where the rain will end up. Here is Omar Al Yazeedi again.
So this science is proven by many scientists and by the expert team in the World Meteorological Organization, and it's also proven in labs. But until now, there is no way that you can measure the success rate for each individual clouds. There are no two clouds are the same, and you don't know, for example, before actually you see the cloud, is it going to rain by itself or not, and by how much? It develops, and then it moves, of course, but when we see it, usually it rains in the same location usually. Sometimes it moves a little bit, and then if it's in its early stages, and then it develops, and then maybe by that time it moved a little bit.
This unpredictability has led to misunderstandings of the technology. For example, in 2004, 5 villages in the Henan province of China all seeded clouds simultaneously. When only one district benefited from the results of rainfall, the other villages all accused them of cloud theft. Dr. Deon Terblanche explains how this isn't a concern.
What we see from previous results is that the clouds that have been treated, they tend to rain more, and they tend to rain over a longer period. So actually, even downwind, there might be a benefit to the cloud seeding.
The UAE is investing in science that offers hope in a world that is facing an uncertain future in terms of water security. If humans are able to discover ways to control and manipulate our environment, we could fight a lot of the damage that climate change has wrought. An example of this is the work being done in Australia by Daniel Harrison and his team of researchers at the Sydney Institute of Marine Science and Southern Cross University. They're also shooting chemicals into clouds, but for the exact opposite effect of rain. It's called cloud brightening.
They're really quite different. It's interesting because at one level they're very similar. In both cases, you're trying to get additional small particles into clouds, but that's pretty much where the similarity ends, actually.
Daniel is trying to reflect the sunlight back into space because he's trying to save the Great Barrier Reef. The idea is to cool the waters around the reef by making clouds reflect more sunlight and potentially prevent up to 70% of coral bleaching.
We're doing almost exactly the opposite with cloud brightening. We're targeting a different type of cloud to start with, and we're trying to increase the background cloud condensation nuclei in that whole area so that when the clouds do form, they're a little bit different. They form with smaller droplets rather than larger droplets, and that way they reflect more sunlight back into space.
Coral bleaching occurs due to stress from changes in temperature and light. He hopes to reverse this process.
If we can get 10 watts per meter squared forcing, reduce the solar irradiance on an average of 10 watts per meter squared, over a couple of months in the summer, then our modeling shows that would make a huge difference. And if we also meet the Paris climate targets, that might be enough to see the reef through to the other side, basically, rather than lose it.
Some experts believe the impact of losing the Great Barrier Reef will reverberate all the way up the food chain, eventually affecting people's livelihoods, food security, and potentially threatening political instability. Could this project offer a greater solution to cooling down the Earth?
Not saying it's impossible, but at the moment, even scaling it up large enough to help the Great Barrier Reef, which is, even though it's quite large, it's still a very, very small fraction of the Earth's surface. It's not clear that engineering-wise, you could scale this up to make a difference on a global scale. We're hopeful that it will be possible, and so far it does look like it will be possible to scale it up to make a difference on the scale of the Great Barrier Reef. But it's another whole couple of orders of magnitude again to go up to make a global difference.
The potential of humans to control our environment has been vast. Mixed with other efforts to rein in climate control, harnessing the clouds could offer huge rewards. This is Beyond the Headlines. I've been your host, Willy Lowry. We were produced this week by Arthur Edison and Aisha Khan. If you like the podcast, please hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcasting app. And we'd love to hear from you, so please do leave us a review.